Good afternoon. So this is Steve from Title I, and I'm going to do a brief video on some year-end housekeeping matters. Having learned some lessons from last year, thought I'd share with you this memo, which you should have all received, February 27th. It's got the various deadlines. So today's date is March 7th. So we have a little over a month and a half, right, left to close the year out. What I'm going to be addressing here is purchase orders and requisitions. So the deadline to enter a requisition is April 5th, and it's the same for administrator approval. At the school level, that often means the principal. Now, this was a 2-page memo. I don't think there's payroll transactions. It says the final payroll is June 30th. I think you guys received this, so I'm going to focus on the purchasing part. So to close out the fiscal year, as you know, the year doesn't stop when you go home, but it is a good idea to make it stop when you go home. So when ordering at the end of the year, you want to spend this year's funds, and you want to make sure that the benefit goes to this year's students. So it really doesn't make any sense to carry over a purchase over the summer. So 3 things at least have to happen for a purchase order to get entered into this year's books. 1, you have to place the order. 2, the order has to be received both physically and in Lawson. So I'm going to forward this excerpt from the I forget what it's called, the Lawson manual. It's chapter 3. It's on receiving orders, receiving partial orders, receiving perfect orders, and so forth. It looks like I excluded some pages here. Adjusting receivers. So I'll revise that and send it out to you guys. Anyway, so you have to order, you have to receive, you have to mark it as received. And sometimes orders don't come in all at once. They come in parts, right? So you've experienced that. And then the last thing that has to happen is you have to receive an invoice and make sure that invoice gets to accounts payable. If it gets to your desk over the summer, the payment won't get applied. So make sure you follow up with both accounts payable and the vendor when it comes to receiving an invoice and getting it in the hands of the right accounts payable person. Okay, what else? Now, I'm going to recommend this. As I kind of hinted at the beginning, if you have an order that you get placed late in the year, and it's we're talking, past the April time frame. I mean, your own senses will judge. But if you're getting the sense that a particular order for books, let's say, is not going to be received until the summer, I would strongly urge you to cancel that order and then reorder it next fiscal year, next school year. Why? Here's a benefit. Here's a benefit for doing that. At first, the downside, if you order something this year, it doesn't get here this summer, or it gets here this summer while you're away, and the books close, guess what? It gets applied to your next year funds. So you start the year out with maybe $500, $1,500, $2,000, whatever the amount of the order was. You start out missing that amount of funds. So in a sense, you lost out this year, and in another sense, you lose out next year. So it is really within your best interests at the school level to make sure all of your requisitions are received and closed out before going home for the summer. Believe me, we've had a number of cases where people come back and they say, how come I've got a negative balance in such and such an account? Well, it's because you didn't close out. You didn't pay close attention to closeout procedures for the previous year. Anyway, that's really all I have to say. Order the items, receive the items, communicate with accounts payable and the vendor, get that invoice paid, and if you can't do that, strongly consider canceling the order and starting again next year.